When you are traumatized, separating yourself is a very healthy safety mechanism. The reason some of you disassociate from your bodies, have what you might call a nervous breakdown, but instead we would call it a chrysalis phase, where you insulate yourself from regular functionality because your system is so overloaded that to try and engage with any more activity in the outside world and your normal patterns would flood you in a very negative way. That is why we bring this up, for you to understand that there are times when disassociation, or we will call it trauma response, where you pull back, pull away, cocoon, chrysalis yourself away from the world. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. We know there are certain books and teachers that might tell you, you have to overcome. Yes, well, you're on Earth, so you are living and you are overcoming. Welcome to the newsflash. If you are on Earth, you are already in spiritual growth. Yes, even those who to you look like they're avoiding it, their growth is going to come like a catapult. They are going to avoid, and then one day it will all find them. And it will be quite messy for a while, but then they will elevate. So this is what all of you are doing consciously, but many of the people on the planet right now who have never really considered that their energy system is a part of what is actually playing out here, they are having a rude awakening. There is a lot of trauma. Many of you, which is good, are speaking about the mental health issues that are beginning to show up for people. We would argue it's energy and emotional health as much as it is mental. It's all connected. But we understand the need for that term, mental health. In time, that will broaden. In decades to come, that term will be updated on the planet to be more all-inclusive. It is a disconnect from well-being. And you have many areas on the planet right now that are disconnected from well-being. Systems that you have in place that are disconnected from future well-being. That's why so many of them will break down, and so much innovation will be born in the decades to come that we will say, reorganize, reinfuse, and re-identify this planet. So right now, if you only look at all the things that are stopping and grieve them and worry about them, all you see is a dead end. You do not see the truth of life, which is eternal transformation. Whether you are willing to go with it, or whether you have to get dragged kicking and screaming. Eternal transformation. So, take a moment to sit with the words eternal transformation in your heart. For some of you, that will bring a great deal of relief, because you are remembering that term. That is what life is. And it is so helpful to you, especially when you are in difficult phases in your life, to remember you are in eternal transformation. We know that some of the illusion of the human mind is, in order to be safe and comfortable, you need to have things set a certain way, organized a certain way, but also let your organization and your setting of safety evolve. Yes, you'll always have ways that you create safety in your life, but they will change. They will not be the same when you are 90 than when you were 9. So evolution is a constant, transformation is a constant. However, someone put their foot on the accelerator a decade or two ago for this planet. It really started to show its face around 2007, 2008, the acceleration, ahead of the forecast 2012 year. By 2011, you were already a few years ahead of what we would call ancient prophecies when it comes to timelines. But prophecies are interesting. They can be accurate to some degree, and in broad strokes, prophecies can be accurate, but nothing is set in stone, including where you all find yourselves today. You as a collective do not have a collective set destiny that you are playing out. That is why we try to shake and wake you out of this idea that you think you are doomed. The only reason certain people think you are doomed on Earth, especially when it comes to the environment, is because they are thinking in the old ways. They are not yet seeing the new ways that will be developed on this planet, that are being developed right now, that are already in place, many of them, that will see you all into a new era. And again, we would caution any of you about having too much worry or fear about death. By all means, feel grief about an oncoming death in your life. We understand fully if you yourself are realizing you are either at potentially the end of your life, or you have been given a diagnosis that may mean you are at the end of your life. By all means, grieve and feel all the feelings you need to feel. But don't shut yourself down because you think it's an end point. That's fear. Grief and fear are two very different things. Fear is a flood that moves through your body that can, we will say, put you on high alert, raise the alarm in your nervous system, and puts you into a place of being, shall we say, ready for any emergency at any given time. It's not good for your body to be in fear for too long, by the way. It floods the system too much. That is why those of you who are, shall we say, finding new ways to deal with anxiety, which is small doses of fear. Anxiety is what you could call mini panic attacks. It does not go full blown, but it is an underlying mini anxiety. There are many of you who came into this world wired with a little anxiety. It was part of the genetic line of your family. You also, some of you came in as empaths for your family. So you took on the anxiety to try and, shall we say, move some of the fear energy out of your family. If you yourself identify with having anxiety, ask yourself how many people around you when you were younger made you feel safe or operated in ways that seemed devoid of fear. Now that last question for you can be tricky because we will say this: dominating, narcissistic personality types are running on fear, but they are the last person you would think are afraid. It's very buried in them. They have amplified their fear into dominating behavior. So you may have been around very dominating people who didn't seem like they had fear, but fear was what they were creating. They were creating fear outside them and around them so they didn't have to feel it in themselves. They're trying to disassociate their own fear by causing a chain reaction of it in the people around them. And for some of you, that can leave you with a residual relationship to anxiety. Many of you will have anxiety when you have been through trauma, when a traumatic event is still trying to move its way through and out of your body. And for some of you, traumatic events can last a lifetime. We say that not as a fix. We're not trying to fix you into the idea it has to last a lifetime. We are more coming from a compassionate place that for some of you, you choose to hold on to shreds of the trauma for reasons, for a lifetime. It may inform and guide your compassion. It may inform and guide your empathy. It might help you appreciate what you have now because you recognize you have come so far. So again, we will go back to what we said earlier. In your earthly minds and your earthly training, you can get very black and white about some of the things we are talking about. Trauma bad, must be healed. No, trauma part of earth. Trauma part of earth. Trauma is energy that hasn't been allowed to express itself safely. And usually when trauma is, shall we say, initiated upon your body, it is when you have an event, a trigger event or series of events that make you feel unsafe in this world, unsafe in your body, unsafe in your spirit. And for some of you, the journey back from that can be quite arduous and quite torturous. And we understand that. We know that is difficult when you are embodying the pain of the world in the trauma that you are carrying. But this world is not yours to save. This world is not yours to save. You are not here to save the world. You are not here to save others. You are not here to carry the weight of the world and the wounds of the world as if they are your own in the hope that you will transmute them. There are only a very small handful of human beings who have, over the last thousands of years, been capable of being such a conduit for healing that they are able to transmute energy for others. And we will say, in most of those cases, it costs them at some level. Their lives were either cut short or they lost their sense of connection to themselves in a way that for some of them, it walked them into darkness. So for any of you who have an idea that you are doing a good thing for the world by taking on other people's feelings, problems, issues, transmuting them through your body, we would say there is a far better way. Recognize the divinity in this person standing in front of you. Yes, even the 8-year-old who is tantruming their face off at you, telling you everything that's wrong about you. They're not really saying everything that's wrong about you. You are the world in that moment. They have decided that the world is unfair and you are the gatekeeper to the world. Nothing is ever as personal as it seems. We know that can be hard to understand. And by the way, we can't fast-track jump you there. That's not how humanity works, and nor should we. Some of you will have overnight enlightenment experiences where you are no longer at all connected to your mind, your emotional patterning, but for many of you, where would the fun in that be? We don't mean to sound controversial here. We know some of you are a little horrified. We just said that because some of you would say, well, isn't enlightenment the end goal? And not necessarily for you individually. More enlightenment on the planet, yes. So therefore you becoming more enlightened, yes. But there is an extraordinary joy for your soul, maybe not for your human personality and mind. There is an extraordinary joy for your soul in being able to take these grand journeys through life. These grand moments, these grand arcs, and this has been said, but we will say it again. There are those of you who can now look back on times in your life that you would not have wished upon anybody at the time it was happening, but now you are through the trauma of it, and most, if not all, of the trauma pain has healed and left you because you have built new pathways since then. You recognize that if it wasn't for that event, time, place, person, you would not have become who you are today.